while I'm sad. You've been out all night, know you've been bad. Don't tell me different, know it's a lie. Come to me, honey, see how I cry.
Welcome to the Recovery Show with Bernie Z, that's me. Today I want to talk to you about step 10 as far as that goes for the people that are in support of the recovering addict. And step 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. For the addict, that's about realizing where we've made a mistake, where our thinking isn't exactly on track, or where maybe we were a little too rigid. It's a lot about, and you'll see it if you watch the part for addicts, the idea that we are continually following those other steps that come before it, and realizing that we need to continually be aware of how we're powerless over the addiction, how we need help and it's unmanageable, and how the addiction affected others. For those around us, this idea of step 10 is to realize at some point we may find ourselves realizing that, maybe I was a little hard on so-and-so who's really trying hard in their recovery. And being able to admit it, but not to the point where you say that the addict is right. Never, ever, ever consider yourself wrong in this respect of if you see something wrong going on with the addict, that by saying it you were wrong. However, it's in the way you say things, and sometimes it's in the way that you interpret it. If you allow your anger and your frustration to take control, then you allow the addiction that's inside that addict in recovery to be fed. So a lot of it has to do with, if you see something that they're not admitting, try helping them to admit it. Subtly. Don't try to push it. But as they're making that inventory, as you're making an inventory of what's going on in life, just as anybody would do, we have to be prepared to admit when we're wrong and make changes so that we can get out of tunnel vision and see everything that we can possibly see. And it's always evolving, because right now there's a light over here, there's a light over here. You can see the light glinting off my glasses that's over on the left, that's from my left side. But the right side one is kind of a lighter hue, so all you see is the brightness of the color in back of me, even though that light is equally as bright as the other. And that's the thing. We have to be able to see as much as possible in order for us to understand what was right and what was wrong about what we did, and to be able to admit when there's more to the picture than what we see. So for those people that are helping an addict, my only advice would be to be patient, even when you want to pull them aside and slap them upside the head. Now, I've wanted to slap myself upside the head a few times, because I say things and sometimes I don't always get to where I want to go with it, and it tends to go horribly wrong. And that's when I have to look at it and say, okay, the inventory there is, what did I say and how did I say it? And when I realize it's not what I said, but how I said it, it makes all the difference in the world, and I can admit that I said something wrong in the way I said it, not necessarily in what I said, but in the way I said it, in the approach I took, and that helps. Now, that's also to note that when my urges get in the way, I tend to get a little edgy, and I have to be able to become aware of that, inventory it, file away the trigger that caused it, and be willing to admit, one, that it happened, and two, that it was wrong to allow that to get out to where it hurt somebody else. So, as I said, for for those people on both sides, the addict and for the support people, it's a matter of looking at things continuously, realizing that we're always changing, and being willing to admit when what we say may not mean what we think it means, and that saying it differently will get it across better. So be aware that sometimes you're going to hear an admission of something, and it's not going to be, I know it's wrong. It's simply that I went about it the wrong way. There's a right way and a wrong way to tie a shoe. The wrong way, it ends up in a knot or not being tied at all, and the right way ends up in it being tied, and you can wear it, and it doesn't slide all over the place. It doesn't cut off circulation. But because it was done wrong doesn't mean that it was a bad thing. It simply means that it was something that needs to be learned to alter the path in which you take on it. So remember that when you're thinking about this personal inventory that you're taking. It's not always about right and wrong. It's about the way in which you address it. And with that, I'm going to say have a good day. I'll see you next time. Thank you.